Previously on Star Trek Resurgence.
Our new first officer is en route to the Resolute. Jara Rydek.
A starbase on the very edge of Federation space. Long way from home now.
Welcome to the edge of the galaxy, Commander Rydek. I'm Commander Jan Ermat, Operations Officer on the Resolute. We're grateful you were able to come fill our first officer vacancy at such short notice.
I'll do my best to live up to expectations.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do just fine. The USS Resolute. As far as science vessels go, she can more than hold her own. And she doesn't look so bad considering 6 months ago she was nearly cracked in half venting plasma fighting for her life.
It was an accident?
Equipment malfunction. An accident suggests fault, but no one's to blame. Cost us our first officer and 22 of our crew. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for each other. That's what it means to be a crew. But I should warn you that when the captain announced you would be the new first officer, there were those who felt it was a mistake, that he should have promoted from within. So you might want to tread lightly at first. Until they come to value your contributions as much as he does.
Trust is earned, and it sounds like I have my work cut out for me. But I plan on winning them over.
The crew has been working around the clock to get the ship ready. There's still so much to do.
I thought the thing was totally fried. Nice work, Carter.
Nothing to it, Neely.
And not a moment too soon. The boss wants us down in engineering. Like, now.
Petty Officers Ed Solar, Diaz. I was beginning to think you would be late. We are all hands on deck right now, which means if you are not at your post at the appointed time, I do not have someone to replace you. A point I have been forced to make to Petty Officer Edzelar on repeated occasions.
So you're saying we're irreplaceable, Commander?
That is one interpretation. Another would be that I would replace you if I could. You can interpret as you see fit. Equip yourselves in EV suits to work on the exterior of the hull. I need you to tune the structural integrity field for optimal performance.
All hands on deck.
What's that?
All hands on deck. That's what Chovok said. You know what that means? It means this ship isn't ready to go out and the brass know it. But this isn't just any old refit or any old relaunch.
Oh, whoa. Excuse me.
A lot of new faces coming on board. It's gotta be tough coming as a replacement.
They may not be the same crew we started out with, but they're still Starfleet.
Hey, Miranda!
You weren't gonna leave without me, were you?
Miranda, you're here?
We thought you were staying on the Adirondack.
Transfer came in at the last minute, so I figured I'd slum it on this bucket of bolts. Good to go. See you on the other side.
That view never gets old.
Let's go.
You'll have to forgive me, I don't know much about Kobleods. But my understanding is you need a steady supply of duridium to keep your cell structure stabilized, or bad things start to happen.
Jara Rydek. Last time I saw you, it was graduation from the academy. As I'm sure you've heard, we've had a rough go of it these last 6 months. The ship suffered some damage, but not nearly as much as the crew. What would have been the crowning achievement of my career? Right there, within our grasp. In my defense, I will say, I might have avoided the whole ordeal if my senior staff had been willing to trust me. There was a lot of pushback from my former XO, and I think that cost me his confidence. Look, I'll be blunt. We can't afford another mistake. Or at least, I can't. I feel like my career is hanging in the balance here. We need a win. Something to restore the crew's confidence. Starfleet has tasked us with what they're calling a mission of the highest priority. Two previously peaceful and otherwise non-aggressive civilizations now find themselves on the brink of all-out war.
So it's a peacekeeping mission.
This ionic storm. Our long-range sensors suggest it's several orders of magnitude stronger than anything on record. A total anomaly like nothing we've seen before. And you'll never guess where it leads.
Hatari.
Exactly. The diplomat will brief us on the details of the rendezvous.
Commander Westbrook, right? Chief Science Officer.
You remembered my name and my rank. Impressive. I'm curious, though. A Kobleod, or half in your case, is an odd choice for first officer, given your vulnerable condition and all. You'd leave Captain Solano without an XO.
In my entire career, it's never been an issue, or caused the slightest problem. And I don't expect this to be any different.
The storm is getting worse.
Looks like they turned off the SIF.
Great, let's get to that emitter. Sometimes it feels like we're just part of the machinery. want more than that? I mean, Starfleet is noble and all, but it's still a machine. A massive, massive machine.
I am more than that. So are you.
Let me give you an update on this ion storm we're flying into. It's unusual, unlike anything I've ever seen. Just a moment.
We've got a massive energy wave inbound. On screen. Red alert.
Aye.
Now.
We got it!
All hands, brace for impact. Captain, we have a situation.
Commander, what are you doing? Blow the bolts on the docking clamp.
The captain doesn't know the whole story.
I'm giving you an order.
All due respect, sir, it's a more complex situation than when you
Jara,
disembarked.
I need you to do the right thing. We can't have this go sideways before we even leave for the mission.
We're going to blow the bolts. Starbase, stand by. We'll warn our crew to take cover.
Get it done, Rydek.
They've blown the other docking clamp! Hurry! Look out!
I got you. Petty Officer Edselar's hurt and unconscious. I'm gonna have to tow her back to the airlock. I'm at the auxiliary hatch.
You go first.
What?
Let me save your neck this time.
Not on your life.
Let's not let it come down to that. We made it.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new mission is always full of possibility.
You all know, not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. That should do it. Set a course for the Hotari system. Prepare to go to Warp 8.
Aye, Captain.
You know what? You take this one.
Engage. I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Commander, help me get her inside!
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on him, but he'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your deuterium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
Now, Carter, the emissions that gave you that burn are quite unusual, like everything else that goes with this storm. That's a combination of hyronolin and lectrazine to counter the radiation effects. That should help speed your healing. She's come by a couple of times to see you already. Be brief.
So, be honest. How bad do I look?
You look rugged.
Rugged?
Okay, how about heroic? What I'm trying to say is, we've been really good friends for a long time. But I got back here and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is?
Are you kidding me? I just said yes.
I wanted to be sure I heard that right.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping the impulse.
Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer.
We won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
I'm sure. Shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
Terra firma, so to speak.
Ambassador Spock. The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
That was a bumpy ride. Are you all right, sir?
There are some elements of space travel that I would prefer to have left in my youth. It appears I have you to thank for my safe arrival. Your assistance arrived not a moment too soon, if I may say so.
All in a day's work, Ambassador. This is what I'm here for.
Quite dutifully. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space. But it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all, even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
Well, this storm is one of the strangest phenomena we've ever encountered. It's disrupted other systems. Who knows what it might do to a warp drive?
Yes, it would seem further investigation is called for.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical. Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock.
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind.
Alright, I think I am on board. I think my mic is plugged in. I've got the chat overlay working. Hello, everyone. Let's switch over here. Hello. Hello. Today we are going to continue Star Trek Resurgence. Thank you to all of you for joining early to watch the recap. We met Spock. I think it's pretty cool. So I think we should just jump right into it. One of the problems from last week was that this mic was just a hair too soft for the gameplay. or to be on top of the gameplay, so please let me know in the chat if that's still the case. And like last week, I'll be ducking in and out. Oh, there I am. There we go. How about now? How's this? Is this good? I think this is the peak of audio. All right. Good ship, good friends. What more can someone ask for? Let's continue the adventure on the USS Resolute, the ship where nothing could possibly go wrong. And let's also make sure not to accidentally delete the save.
Ambassador Spock, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. Not the most diplomatic choice of words.
We're all curious about the future, Ambassador. Specifically, what exactly are we getting involved in here?
We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Ilidia and Hotari. The Ilidians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Ilidians have shared a mining operation there. The Ilidians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace. Until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Ilidians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Have the Ilidians retaliated against the Hotari? Or taken any action against them?
Surprisingly, they have not yet responded in kind. They were open to a Federation presence, but it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Ilidian fleet in open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
We can call it profitable or mutually beneficial, but at the end of the day, the Hotari are still being exploited for their own resources.
True peace is not merely the absence of war. And as such, this conflict will surely come again.
Neither the Ilidians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Ilidians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
The Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
So we've already played a part in this.
Unfortunately, that is indeed the case, Commander Rydek.
We're morally obligated to make this right.
Hold on. Our only obligation is to negotiate the peaceful resolution of this conflict.
Given the Federation's involvement in the Iridium dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the ion storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Ilidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Ilidians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly goes her own way. Maybe that helps in this case. It would be unconventional.
I'm honored to be included in the negotiation process.
You're not just included, you're instrumental.
Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with. I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
The Ambassador asked me to take a look, and I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Good. You could learn from Mr. Diaz's focus.
I'll take notes.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
It seems like he's warming up to us.
Yeah.
Even Chovok has to look at that face and know you've earned some real respect. And I have to admit that I owe you one. You were right to make me go first. I don't know what I was thinking.
You've pulled me out of trouble how many times? Call it even.
Okay. At the very least, maybe I can track down that bottle of Saurian brandy you're still on the hook for. But first, we have work to do.
Ready to go?
All set. Let's run the diagnostic.
All right, mic hot for this one, because you know I love my button pushing. Got a little hand action here. I guess I'm gonna mute again. The train has decided to intervene, so see you later.
So, I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms.
Are you upset?
Not on your life, Diaz. But you need to be careful. I like my friends and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done yet?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something. Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Makes me think the computer panicked on the warp field equation.
Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes, ma'am.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Okay, let's hope for no train this time. We got some tricorder action. Since I'm not using the biological scan, Edslaw is not going to show up as anything, though that would be pretty funny. And unlike last time, I can't just walk off and do some busy work. But just for the sake of it, I'll look around a little bit. For the more eagle-eyed fans, this is the shuttle design from the Star Trek movies. This one was used in 5, and you can kind of see like like how there's like little bits of architecture in it that carry over to later designs. Part of that being because Star Trek V was being produced around the same time as The Next Generation. It's kind of neat to just see them side by side here. I'm not sure if it was noted last week, but this is a shuttle off of the Excelsior, and it's got Spock's mom's maiden name up here. Check that out. Anybody following Strange New Worlds this week, that name might ring a bell. And of course, in the back, NCC 2000. Alright. Enough dawdling. Biological readings on it. So.
I checked every coil on the port nacelle for imbalances. If any coil in either engine were cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
You're the one with the important job to do. Keeping the captain safe. And Ambassador Spock.
It doesn't always feel that way. Baking in the hot sun, standing guard next to an empty shuttlecraft. But it has its moments.
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
They fucking hate him. They absolutely do not like
You don't want to miss your train.
I do have to go. Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save some of that for when I get back.
You've got a deal.
Be seeing you.
Salar de Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it.
That's flirting.
Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1. 1.2. 3. Warp pressure is destabilizing. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapsed. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Bingo.
What-o?
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you have come. My name is Tyler Saltaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours. And this is Commander Jara Rydek, first officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Illydians.
We are honored to be here, as representatives of the Federation.
I'm so glad.
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation. The reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But, either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Citron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Let's hope this is the last time we ever have to come here.
If you'll excuse me.
I think we're about to begin.
Did you hear the arrogance from that guy? I don't know what we're walking into here, but that guy was something.
That may be true. But let's keep an open mind going into the negotiations. Hopefully he's just one voice amongst many.
Then let's hope he's the outlier.
The Hotari have invited us as their guests, so we must show them the proper respect.
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Holtari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but a recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation and their ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Elydian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war!
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced. But his point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
I'm trying to keep an open mind here, but it's not easy. I thought they wanted us here.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliad?
She's not part
She
of...
can speak for herself, can't she? Then let her. Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliad, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliad is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable. Not unlike how we have been treated by the Elydians.
As much as they'd have you believe they are the victims here, remember it was the Hotari who attacked us. Hundreds of innocent Elydians were slaughtered without mercy in those mines.
The blood is on their hands, not ours!
Quiet! If after all the Kobliad suffered, you finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control, would you take it? Or would you negotiate a peace?
There is no remedy for what the Kobliad suffered. And I fear who we might have become in pursuit of it. There is no justice if the oppressed become the oppressor. So I would willingly accept a peaceful resolution if it were offered. That is the real opportunity.
Perhaps, Commander Rydek. Perhaps. Unfortunately, that was not the case, was it?
No, it was not.
Peace is often elusive to those who need it most. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth, not your Federation rhetoric.
As Ambassador Spock has said, we've come seeking a peaceful resolution to this conflict, and have no interest in your dilithium.
I'm not nearly as naive as you must think. The Federation has done business with the Elydians for decades, which makes me question your motives.
What they haven't said, but cannot deny, is a simple truth. The dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Elydian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone, especially the Hotari. We've given them warp technology. We've let them share in the profits. We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies! The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. So tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau? Who should the Federation recognize? The Hotari or the Elidians? It can only be one or the other, not both.
If I have to choose only one, then it would have to be the Hotari.
Well said! How could the just and wise Federation make any other choice?
This is an outrage. The Federation has lost all credibility.
The mines are ours. Elidia will not be deterred. We will take back our mines by any means necessary.
Then you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
I suppose there is some sense to that. I hope we meet again, Jara Ryder.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
Okay. Wow. I really agonized over that choice. In a previous session, I chose the Hotari as well, and I was really thinking about it. But there's a part of me, whenever it comes to games like these, where I just kind of got to stick with what I believe in, and kind of had my gut feeling on the Hotari.
The captain and ambassador have it handled. I've got my own mission.
So, let's try some face-to-face, small-scale diplomacy, because extreme diplomacy did not turn out well for us. I like that.
Soothing.
Commander, I'm glad you've chosen to side with the Hotari. I knew the Federation would see through the Elidians' baseless claims and protect the interests of my people.
Even though the Hotari should have control of the mines, some of the Elidian claims are still valid.
There you're wrong, but we can agree to disagree.
I assume you were there the day the mines were seized from the Elidians.
Not seized. Reclaimed. And restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive. Before the Elidians could even realize their worst nightmare was upon them.
I'm curious Why the Elydians haven't fought back. They have the ability to retake the mines anytime they want.
Ability is one thing. Courage is another. The Elydians know any hostile action on their part will not end well. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Elydians might have in store. Or is that not true? Maybe I've misjudged it.
It wasn't designed as a warship. More for scientific research and exploration.
But the Federation must have ships designed for war.
Technically, they're Starfleet ships representing the Federation. But yes.
I see.
Sidron.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
Well, there's certainly wrinkles to see in their faces. Not to joke around too much, but I've been really distracted both by this guy's glasses and how their noses are too high. Like those photoshops where people remove the nose and make the face complete. Part of that was what went into my decision to choose the Hotari. I'm not going to lie to any of you. But, yeah, I want to think about that for a second. Like, the Hotari have rights over, like, they've been exploited for the sake of dilithium mining, like the fuel of the galaxy. And I think right off the bat, having Jarrah go for the fact, like, really latch onto the fact that the Federation's already benefited from this, like, abusive agreement. I really hope that this bucks the trend of Star Trek sometimes kind of getting it wrong. Like, the Federation and Starfleet aren't always the good guys. They are kind of in that neutral zone. No pun intended. I'm sorry. Where they mean well, but it's kind of this well-meaning... Well, you know what I mean. Let's take a look at this landscape.
Such rough terrain. No wonder the Hotari are so tough. An Elydian warship, the Zeldi. They must want the Hotari to know they can use it at any time. But why haven't they? That must be Tau. The place it all started.
Alright, we got a couple more people to talk to.
Commander Rydek, I'm encouraged to see the Federation supporting my people. I'm afraid of what might happen without your help.
I'm glad to hear it. I just hope you're not the only one who feels that way.
I apologize for that. These are unusual times, to say the least. Much is changing. I saw you speaking with Sidron, our national hero. I'm curious, what did he say?
He seems to be of the opinion that negotiating for peace is a waste of time.
Because force is the only blunt instrument he understands. He's a miner, not a diplomat. For the first time in our history, the Hotari have the upper hand. We see ourselves as strong instead of downtrodden. New voices have risen up. Old voices shouted down. Galvin and Sidron have become national heroes. Now, they have the Queen's ear. Better or worse, depending on your perspective.
I assume they've taken your place.
I was one of the Queen's most trusted advisors. And I hope to prove myself worthy of being so again. Which is why you're here. My fear has been that the Illidians will launch an attack and crush us. You've seen their starship, no doubt. They could have retaken the mines whenever they wanted to, but it never happened. And as strange as this may sound, I'd almost say they're afraid. I just don't know what they're afraid of. It's still the same bluster and bravado you would expect from them. But it has no teeth. Like they're afraid of what might happen.
Do you think it has something to do with the ion storm? Right now, it's stronger than ever, isn't it?
It's entirely possible. I'm not a scientist, but I do know the storm has knocked out all kinds of systems. So maybe the Illidians weren't willing to risk their ships, given all the interference. Since the day of the revolt, Galvin has seized control of the mines and restricted all access. No one's allowed without his personal authorization. And they've taken over a section of the palace with just as much secrecy and security. I'm told it could be something they brought back from the mines. I've made inquiries, but everyone pretends it doesn't exist. I strongly suspect they're hiding something.
Are you sure of this?
It's been the talk of the palace since the day of the revolt.
How can we know?
I'd better see what's happening.
Do you think you can find out what they're hiding? I need to see proof of something before I can make my case to the Federation.
I can try, but even if I found it, I might not know what to make of it.
Take this. You can use it to capture whatever you find, and then send it to me.
Thank you. I will let you know what I find. And I look forward to our meeting again.
Sorry, I couldn't help but notice you were speaking with the Hotari this whole time. I figured in the interest of fairness, I should offer another perspective.
Of course.
I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but these negotiations rely on the Federation's neutrality, as does any hope you might have for a supply of dilithium in the future. So, why you would choose to side with the Hotari escapes me. Without Illidian involvement, there is no dilithium trade. Clearly, you weren't aware.
Of all my concerns, dilithium is not one of them. I could care less about securing a supply, now or in the future.
I'd be curious to know if the rest of the Federation shares your indifference. Major Salit Arminta, Special Attaché, Illidian Armed Forces. Pleasure to meet you, Commander. I have my issues with the Hotari, but I have to give them some credit. They know how to seize an opportunity. Inciting an uprising the same day as a massive, once-in-a-lifetime ion storm.
Our assumption was that this storm was just an anomaly.
Yes, a very convenient anomaly. At least, that was what we were told. Of course, I wasn't there. But who am I to say otherwise?
You sound skeptical.
Well, the official story is that it was the storm that enabled the revolt. How else do a bunch of unarmed, unorganized miners seize control of an entire moon, much less thousands of mines? But I've talked to people who were there. They tell a different story. They say they're lucky to have escaped with their lives. That it was more than just the storm. That somehow the miners were able to harness the energy from the storm. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But that's what they said.
You said the Hotari were primitive.
Well, they are.
Except for the part about weaponizing ion storms.
If you'll excuse me, Commander Ryder.
They seem proud of their culture. Pride can lead to rash action.
Now, I mentioned this last week, and I'm sorry. I know it's a little crude to point out, but I don't know if it's the cut of the uniform, but, like, you know. You know. Let's go talk to Captain Solano.
Well, that was a disaster.
What happened?
The Hotari refused to concede anything, so the Elydians stormed out.
The Hotari did not invite us here as peacekeepers. I hope your efforts were more fruitful than ours.
Gravitational harmonics failing to resolve. Warp bubble stability degrading. Increase output to maximum.
Increasing warp output to maximum.
It's happening again.
It is evident that presently, the Resolute cannot achieve warp propulsion.
Since our diagnostics rule out any problems with our warp systems or anything about the ship, the problem appears to be the fabric of space itself.
Space itself? You're saying something about this region of space prevents warp travel?
Prevents it, or can't sustain it.
However improbable, that appears to be the case.
We need to know more.
The storm didn't stop us from leaving space dock and traveling here. But could it still be causing this interference with warp travel?
We must follow sound investigatory principles. Do not let an assumed conclusion drive your analysis.
Sometimes we need a little inspired thinking, Mr. Chovak. Captain Solano is on his way back from the negotiations, and I want to have some answers for him when he gets here.
Indeed. Given the facts at hand, we may be able to deploy subspace probes around the ship to construct a clearer picture of the phenomenon.
Around the ship. I'll prep a shuttle.
You've never seen someone more happy to drive a minivan, I promise you that. I promise you.
I'm setting up a waypoint at a distance roughly corresponding to the edge of our warp field. When we get there, I'll deploy the first probe.
I didn't try this the first time I played this sequence, so I'm just gonna try and get some beauty passes of the ship. I think it'd be kind of nice. Maybe not hit it in the process. Alright, enough goofing around.
Commander Westbrook, the Resolute systems are calibrated to receive the probe's readings. We are standing by to reproduce the warp field collapse after the first probe is deployed.
Thank you, Mr. Chovak. We'll be in position shortly.
And, Mr. Diaz, do take care in piloting the shuttlecraft. Now is not the time to indulge in the human penchant for joyriding.
Oh, he shouldn't have said that. He should not have said that.
Chovak probably isn't such a fun guy to work for, huh?
Nah, Lieutenant Commander Chovak's not so bad. You know, once you get used to him. And, I've learned a lot working under him.
I have a feeling I'm going to have to work harder to be a political animal like you, with this new first officer coming aboard.
There's your donuts. I'm sorry if anybody's dizzy. Because I am. I am pretty dizzy now. Let's just fly a little too close to these rocks. I'm gonna make Commander Westbrook throw up his cookies. Do you know how in like Star Trek when ships go to warp they have those streaks behind them? I wonder if that's like revving up the car and then that's like all the smoke, you know? Like if you know what it really is, don't say it. I know it's streaks of light because the ship is moving faster than light can be moving, but think about it. Space donuts with the warp drive just spinning. Think about it.
This is far enough. Transporting the first probe into position. Westbrook here. The first probe is deployed.
Understood. We are reading it. We are about to replay the simulation.
Problem?
I just can't get a handle on her. Commander Rydek. On the one hand, she went with my idea to use a deflector pulse against the storm surge. On the other, she wouldn't listen to me when I was trying to get you through the hull walk alive. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the new XO. I'm sure she's a fine officer, even if we don't see eye to eye. But she didn't go through what the rest of us did. You know that. And it's hard to figure out why she'd be the one Solano chose instead of, well, one of us.
I don't really know anything about Commander Rydek.
Yeah. Not many do.
But you're right. She's definitely an outsider.
Maybe that's what Solano wanted all along.
Test is running. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1, mark.
Whoa. All right, that is definitely a problem with the fabric of space. We need to get another probe out there. With 2 points of data, the Resolute and the probe, we've managed to get an interference pattern. I'm setting a waypoint to a particularly strong area of interference. We'll deploy the second probe there.
Oh, these two asteroids are kissing.
Listen, I'm gonna give you a piece of advice I wish someone had given me. Make sure you're never just one thing. And don't get so focused on what's in front of your face that you lose sight of the big picture. Before Rydek showed up, the captain pulled me into his ready room and told me he didn't think I had the people skills to be first officer. What a load of crap. I mean, if he'd said that about Chovak, sure.
Well, if you're asking, I think you're a people person. After all, here we are. Me, an enlisted officer. You, one of the senior staff. Talking like old buddies.
I should send Solano to talk to you.
Bring him on.
I'm sure you can handle him. You've got potential. You're a capable engineer. You're good in the field. Keep up the good work, and who knows? A solid jack of all departments like you could be Commander-in-Chief of Starfleet one day. Hell, Admiral Jellicoe started as a shuttle pilot. And there are places to go in the enlisted ranks, too. Of course, if you get an officer's commission, they'll put you on another ship.
You know, I'd be the best leader Starfleet ever had. Lower decks always have to fix all the problems Command causes. Maybe I'd just save everybody some steps.
Well, don't forget about us little people when you're running things.
Of course not. You gotta remember where you came from.
Diaz is real. I love him. Diaz is from the hood.
Here. This is close enough. Stop the engines. Deploying the probe. Westbrook to Commander Chovak. We're ready for another sampling of data.
Very good. Running the simulation again. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1, on.
There it is again.
I saw it. It seems to be directional.
Well, what about the scans? Anything?
Here's the readings in relation to our local space. We've got the Resolute, Otari Prime, and the probes.
All this interference is overloading the sensor buffers. We're gonna have to triangulate the sensors manually. We got something.
These markers indicate peaks in the gravimetric interference patterns.
Let's see if I can find some more. Hold up. This is coming from the moon.
A beam that blocks warp travel.
Aimed right at us.
Someone is doing this intentionally. I don't know how they're doing it. This is like nothing I've ever seen.
We're under attack and we didn't even know it. We need to stop them. Unplug whatever it is they're hitting us with.
Now, look here. It's current readings of the ion storm.
These concentrations, they line up with the interference pattern. The storm and this beam, they're coming from the same place.
Carter, whatever petty local conflict brought us here, it's just a small part of something much bigger. Presently, we don't have an explanation for how they're doing this. But one thing is clear. This is no fluke.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I want a full briefing when I'm back on board. Solano out. A targeted weapon that inhibits warp travel. Coming from the moon Tau.
That would explain the difficulties my shuttle encountered. More importantly, the tenor of the Hotari during the negotiations.
And here I thought the Elydians would be the problem. Coming to peace talks in a warship. This wasn't supposed to be so complicated.
For all their posturing, every indication is that the Elydians are afraid of the Hotari. They didn't bring their warship as a threat. They brought it because they're scared.
From everything we witnessed, I would say that is highly likely.
But what are they afraid of?
Tylus, the Hotari representative, said she thought they found something in the mines. Galvin and Sidron brought it back to the palace, but they're keeping it under tight security. She's going to investigate it. I gave her my tricorder. I expect she'll contact us soon.
You found an ally.
Why would Tylus help us? Go behind her people's back? It's a fair question, considering.
She's worried that her people are being dragged into something that isn't going to end well for them. She's trying to save them.
That may be true.
She's certainly more likely to help than the other Hotari we've met.
That raises another question. Specifically, what do the other Hotari have to gain in bringing us here, only to make this hostile maneuver against us? There must be some motivation.
Unless they changed their minds between when they asked and when we got here.
That's the thing. It doesn't make sense to bring us here. Tylus said that Galvin and Sidron have restricted access to the mines, even to the Hotari. So they don't want anybody to learn what they've found.
Then calling in the Federation is a funny way of going about it. I don't think the Elydians know what's really down on that moon either.
Major Arminta said the revolt defied explanation. That the Hotari miners somehow harness the energy of the storm.
Harness the energy of the storm?
Doing that is beyond even our capabilities.
So is a weapon that disrupts warp travel.
There have been civilizations and entities, both past and present, far more technologically advanced than the Federation.
The Elydians and Hotari don't fall into that category.
But that is all the more reason to investigate further.
Commander Rydek, sorry to interrupt. We've received an urgent call from Hotari. The Queen's advisor, Tylus, has asked to speak with you.
Put her through.
Galvin and Sidron are still with the Queen. I've enlisted help to gain access to the room they have under guard.
I don't have much time.
I'm not supposed to leave my post.
It's only for a moment. I so appreciate your help.
I found something. I'm sending you a scan.
Got it. Tylus, if we needed to gain access to the mines on Tau, is that something you could help us with?
I suppose it wouldn't be easy, but I have to go.
Tylus.
Can we reconnect?
Sorry, Captain. We've lost all contact.
We can only hope she escaped without harm.
It was hard to tell.
Tylus wouldn't have offered to help if she didn't know what she was doing.
That's a lot of faith in someone we barely know. Let's see the scan of whatever the hell that was.
Tylus suspects this came from the mines on Tau.
It appears to be of ancient origin, but the markings are unfamiliar.
We can run a full analysis when we get back to the Resolute. But if this came from the mines, then it might be the key to how they got the upper hand against the Illydians.
Then we have to go into the mines.
The Federation would not allow that. We were, after all, sent here to be a neutral party in a peace negotiation. However, we could demonstrate that the Hotari have acted in bad faith, which would enable us to investigate the mines on Tau with full justification. But of course, we would need conclusive proof before taking action. Otherwise, it could put us in a difficult position.
Whatever this artifact is may be proof enough. At least to satisfy the Federation.
Especially if we can show the Hotari are controlling the warp disruption. And targeting the Resolute.
We may have a better understanding once we analyze the device. But a mission to the mines, covert or otherwise, is not out of the question. And I will handle the Federation.
As I was telling Carter, I want all the data I can get on this warp problem.
Hello.
And the negotiating team's shuttle has been recording data all the way back from Hotari. Even better than our probes. So pull the sensor and engine ISOs from the Melville when it sets down.
Will do.
I'll join you and Chovok down in engineering to run another analysis after the briefing.
Hello, and thanks for the follow to Blue Bidya Game. Or should I say
like
Dusty?
Warp problem
Do you
when we
prefer
thought it was some astronomical anomaly. And I like it a hell of a lot less now that we know someone is doing it to us. How does it work? What do we even do about it?
What do you say we pull these chips and find out?
Took some damage on the way. That ionic interference scored the hull plating. Might be some micro welds. Let's try pulling together.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
All right. I'm going to pause this because I think it'd be actually a lot of fun in the chat. I'm going to try and sum up the story so far. And thank you for the follow, Blue Bidya Game. The Hotari and the other alien species are in a mining dispute. We are the crew of the USS Resolute, who have come to mediate it. Naturally, Starfleet is also implicated in this because they are part of the dilithium trade. So there's a moral quandary about being involved with working with the Illydians, and there's and like having bought dilithium from the Illydians, and the Illydians obtaining the dilithium by using the Hotari as slave labor, effectively. We have Ambassador Spock aboard, and he's there to be the central mediator of the incident that's going on. And there's a whole other cast of characters on the ship that I will remember the names of in time. We play as two characters. Jara Rydek is the ship's new commander. She's it's her first day at work. It's going pretty well. And we've got lower decks engineer Carter Diaz, who is straight hood. He's cool. He has a great scar on his face. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, we just received. So we slipped a tricorder over to Tylus, who is one of the Hotari. She used to be the Queen's handmaiden, or one of the handmaidens, from my understanding. And with the tricorder, she was able to get us some great video footage of a mysterious piece of technology. This mysterious piece of technology will be run through. This image will be run through the databases of the Resolute, and we'll see where it goes. I guess the last thing is when the VOD goes up, there's a 15-minute preamble, which is actually a summary that I cut together of our last session last week. So you're only effectively in episode 2. Welcome on board. Let's get back to it.
It won't budge. Gotta be the storm damage. We need to... Welcome back. Any excitement down on the surface?
Excitement? No. Nothing like that.
Hey, can you hand me the EJ7 interlock? From the toolbox.
I don't know what that is.
Not much use for one on a security detail, huh? Carter?
Yeah, I'll get it.
All right, this is worth pointing out. Yes, thank you. Vibe check is important. Actually, I'm gonna save the vibe check for the end of the stream. Which should be the next story beat. We'll save it. We'll leave it at that. The woman, the stone, the kind of woman that's giving us the cold treatment is Petty Officer Miranda Maris. She's one of the ship's security. She's an old friend of Carter Diaz and also Petty Officer Ed Solar. And right before she left, they shared a little kiss, and they being Maris and Diaz, and she admitted to having feelings for him from back in the Academy days. You know how it is. And naturally, us playing it the most Starfleet and Star Trek way possible, I just went for it. We just went for it. We just kissed her, wished her good luck. You know, that's how it goes. This will go over at the end of our session, but what I'll explain what this is all about. True to the Telltale tradition, your choices affect people's attitudes towards you, how much they like you, how much they hate you. And so these are all the prominent people that you meet across the course of the story. And, scrolling through very quickly, you can see kind of a nice summation of plot points and story beats that we've hit with them. Afterwards, once we're kind of wrapped up with the episode, I'll go back to the main menu because there is a QR code that you can scan to take a look at the choices that we've taken together. Really, it's choices that I'm making, and you're kind of on for the ride. The point of it being the sort of like goal of it being, we're gonna play the Star Trek the heck possible as Star Trek as possible. Yes. I think that's it. So yeah, Miranda Maris, security officer. She's going to be right in the middle of the screen when we unpause.
Okay, I'll apply pressure while you decouple the panel.
Here, I'll help.
We've got this.
Open up and say ah.
Thanks for the hand. We have to get these isolinear chips down to engineering.
No problem. You really know everything about these ships, don't you? The tools, the systems. Like a walking Starfleet technical manual.
Oh, I thought security was the detail to be on. Now all of a sudden you're interested in engineering?
Just the engineer.
Come on, start pulling chips.
Let's start with the lemon ones. Now, cherry, strawberry. Ooh. Honey.
What's this?
Some kind of crystal formation?
Whoa. This substance is a quantized spin crystallization of hydrogen, carbon, and lithium. It's emitting tetrametric pulses at an interval of 3.8422 seconds.
Quantized crystallization isn't natural. I mean, it's only theoretical as a means to engineer matter on a subatomic level. What's it doing in there?
Wait. Regulation 364, subsection 9.
What?
Regulation 364, subsection 9 orders that in the case of an unknown foreign substance infiltrating a sealed system, it will be placed in secure confinement before further examination. Retrieve a containment module.
Don't you think we're more equipped to deal with whatever this is?
No. Before anything else, this is a security issue. You don't even know what this is.
Which is why we need to study it.
Once it's contained.
Well, if it's not natural, then someone might have put it there. It could be a tracking device. Some kind of sabotage. Or even a bomb.
Which is why we need to get it to the containment lab.
Come on.
I can't make an exception. Not even for you.
I'm still going to report these crystals to Commander Westbrook when we send the shuttle data.
And I will inform my superiors. I'm taking this just as seriously as you are. But I overheard talk about the warp disruption on the shuttle. Now these crystals? Maybe this situation is more than we can handle with just a science vessel. We could trigger a distress call, get Starfleet to send more ships. Or I could send a message to my old CO on the Adirondack. Get some combat-tested vessels.
We're at the edge of the quadrant. Help isn't just gonna pop over like we're in Sector 001.
Wouldn't hurt to try.
You talk like you've never had your backs up against a wall before. This is Starfleet. We solve our own problems.
Okay, stand back. Get this to the containment lab.
Put it next to Slimer.
We'll get it set up for you. I'll let you know when it's safely confined.
Oh, we'll be there.
Last thing you want is to study this down in main engineering and have it explode next to the warp core. Almost forgot.
Can't have that.
For a second, I thought she'd gone cold on you. Like she might have changed her mind. But I guess this whole situation has her spooked. Maybe she knows more than us? Or it's because this is all happening so fast? But she usually doesn't scare easy.
Yeah, there was something a little off about her.
Like that talk about sending a distress call? That was pretty out there. She was probably just thinking out loud. I'm sure she'll come to her senses. This mission has enough complications stacking up.
Now, we'll get through it. You, me, and Miranda too.
Commander Rydek was able to work behind the scenes during the negotiations and made contact with a representative from the Hotari delegation named Tylus. She mentioned an unusual artifact of unknown origin being held under tight security within the Hotari Palace, which she believes came from the mines on Tau. Now, this artifact might have a connection to the revolt, to the storm, and to the warp disruption we now know has been targeted at the Resolute. Commander Rydek, if you want to take it from here.
Of course. Tylus managed to infiltrate the heavily guarded location within the palace and sent us these scans using my tricorder. It appears to be some sort of control panel, possibly connected to the warp disruption weapon originating on Tau. Of particular interest is this symbol, which we couldn't identify the origin of.
The Federation database has records from a vast number of civilizations. If anyone from Starfleet has come across this before, the system should recognize it.
Cross-referencing with Federation records.
Displaying symbols from Federation database with a 90% probability of match or higher. Select a symbol to further analyze.
You know, I've been trying to, like, avoid cutting into the story bits, but this is just such a silly little bit. We're totally doing the enhanced thing from other sci-fi stuff. If you know some of these symbols, please let me know in the chat, because, like, some of these I've recognized. I think there's, like, a Klingon one in here. There's, like, a Borg one in there. There we go. But some of these, I don't know if they're just fun shapes or tribal tattoos that people have gotten. This one is a sugar cube or a square marshmallow. That is something that if I say what it is, I may be in trouble. That's a flower. That's a bird. That's a turtle. That's a dragon. And that one was wrong. More lore.
99.2% match.
Got it.
So, what are we looking at?
The design and composition indicate this is a glyph associated with the ancient Khan Empire. Their civilization collapsed over 600,000 years ago, but once spanned millions of systems with a population numbering in the trillions.
Fascinating. The Takan were once the most advanced, most powerful civilization in the galaxy.
Is it possible the Hotari found Takan technology?
I wonder if they even know what they have.
Our knowledge of the Takan is limited. I have only encountered passing references to them.
Actually, I've heard of the Takan.
You have?
Quite impressive, Commander.
Computer, summarize the Enterprise D's discovery of a Takan outpost.
On stardate 41386.4, the USS Enterprise D, under the command of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, discovered a Takan outpost in the Delphi-Ardu system. According to the mission summary, an unbreakable energy-draining field was deployed against the Enterprise and a Ferengi ship. The Enterprise was only able to escape after negotiating their release with an entity known as Portal 6-3, Guardian of the Takan Empire.
Unbreakable energy draining field. It starts to make sense.
What else is there?
There's a lot here. Let's take it piece by piece.
Select the aspect you wish to learn more about.
What sort of planet is Delphi-Ardu 4?
Delphi-Ardu 4 is an M-class planet. a barren rocky world with little to no vegetation and frequent ion storms. The giant crystals that grow there absorb energy, but it is not understood how they do so. The entire Delphi-Ardu system, consisting of 11 planets, was considered completely uninhabited until the encounter with Portal 6-3.
Frequent ion storms. That can't just be a coincidence. The technology to capture and hold the Federation flagship would have to be unbelievably powerful. Computer, what else can you tell us about the energy-draining field the Takan used?
The Enterprise D was unable to break free on its own. The precise nature of the technology was never fully understood. Only that the crystalline technology used was beyond the comprehension of then-current Starfleet science.
The engineering team found a quantized spin crystal formation in the shuttle you took to Hotari. They registered tetrametric radiation coming from it.
We have Takan technology on board right now?
We might. I'll run a full analysis in the containment lab.
Someone from the Takan Empire is actually still around.
Or at least was, 16 years ago.
Computer, what other information do you have on Portal 6-3, Guardian of the Takan Empire?
The entity known as Portal 6-3 is of an unknown nature. A biped humanoid, he was unaware that the Takan Empire no longer existed at the time of the encounter. He was able to control the crystal-based technology of the Takan outpost through apparent telepathic means. It was by his choice that the Enterprise was released from the energy-draining field after Commander William T. Riker of the Away Team argued on behalf of both Starfleet and the Ferengi.
Telepathic control of their technology.
As I have said, they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy.
There appears to be some sort of restriction order from Starfleet. Computer, explain this restriction.
A Starfleet directive similar to General Order 7 forbids entering the Delphi-Ardu system or attempting to make contact with Portal 6-3.
Starfleet doesn't throw up a no trespassing sign for just anybody.
I suppose it makes sense, considering what happened to the Enterprise D.
The Elydians should have crushed the revolt. But if the Hotari have Takan technology and can control it, I see why they're willing to negotiate peace. For all we know, this could be just the beginning. And we're up against something greater than we can imagine.
For now, it's probably best we don't let on how much we know.
Play our cards close to the vest. Smart. I agree. Then when the time is right, we can confront them.
Diplomatically, of course.
Right.
We've been able to triangulate the source of the ionic interference and warp disruption to a specific mine on Tau. Engineering used the latest data from your shuttle to pinpoint its origin. There.
So we know where to look.
We need to know what's down there. What the Hotari are hiding, to better understand what we're up against. And to neutralize it if we can.
Captain, embarking on a mission to the Hotari moon would not be viewed favorably by either side. However, given the circumstances, we are entirely within our rights to defend ourselves.
I just want to make sure this doesn't blow up in our faces. Which is why I'm thinking of sending Commander Rydek on a covert mission to Tau. Assuming you're up to the task. It would require absolute secrecy. And obviously, it's not without risk.
I'll get the away team in and out. They're in safe hands with me.
Under normal circumstances, that would be the case. But given the sensitive nature of this incursion, I'm afraid you'll have to go it alone. I'm hoping Tylus can accompany you. The priority is to avoid detection. It's a calculated risk. The last thing we need is to get caught and then blamed for violating our neutrality and aggravating an already tense situation. We can't afford any mistakes, which is why I've chosen you.
Tylus will be essential to my success. Not only her knowledge of the mines, but her ability to gain access, particularly now that we know which mine we need to get into.
Make sure she understands the need to keep this covert.
She's not going to want her people to know about this.
Get in touch with Tylus and make the necessary arrangements as discreetly as possible.
Bridge to Captain Solano. The Elydians have moved additional ships to the edge of the Hotari system. Current heading is straight for the homeworld.
Understood.
It would seem we no longer have the luxury of waiting. In that case, may I suggest you and I return to Hotari Prime? Doing so will provide Commander Rydek as much time as possible to complete her mission.
Agreed. We'll hail the Queen's delegation from my ready room. We all know what we need to do. Dismissed.
Petty Officers Diaz and Ed Solar, where is the crystal formation that you found in the shuttle? I have tasked Ensign Calloway with performing a full analysis of the tetrametric pulses.
Security brought it to the containment lab.
I was just there. They don't know anything about it. Security never checked it in.
Miranda never got there?
She's the one that had the crystal formation?
Diaz, Tamaris.
Try her again. Commander Westbrook to Petty Officer Miranda Maris. Respond.
Something's not right.
She's still on the ship. She has to be.
Computer, locate Petty Officer Miranda Maris.
Petty Officer Miranda Maris is in the isolinear storage array on Deck 5.
I'll go find her.
Good.
I am sure Mr. Diaz can attend to this on his own.
Everyone's worried, but you know, she's just looking for chips. She just doesn't know what kind. She got the lemon and orange ones over here. And, cream soda. Is that the white one? Is that the white Mr. Freezy? Anyway, sorry. Breaking the dramatic tension here. I'll also point out, just true to the Star Trek tradition, mysteriously dark rooms with very tall columns and uncertain purpose. Thank you. Yes, cream soda is the white Freezy Pop.
Someone improperly pulled these isolinear chips. This. Miranda, you in here? Hello? Hello? Hey! Miranda?
What the hell are you doing, Carter? You almost knocked me to the lower level. What's wrong with you?
Look, I'm in here looking for you.
Well, I'm busy. I was just leaving.
Well, hold on. Commander Westbrook said the crystal formation we found in the shuttle never made it to the containment lab.
I don't know why he'd say that. I brought them there myself. Whatever he told you, he got it wrong. All I know is where I left them.
If that's the case, let's both go down there and find them. It's that simple.
I don't have time for that. I have work to do. Now, if we're done here, I have to go. Do you mind? I'm in the middle of my shift.
I saw the data terminal and the isolinear chips. Were you copying data? There's no one else in here.
I wasn't. I was performing a security sweep of the area.
And you didn't see the open terminal? I want a straight answer, Miranda. What are you doing here?
Carter, if things are gonna work out between us, I'm gonna need you to trust me a little more than this. Because this is not a good start to a relationship. And I don't get why you're acting this way.
I'm just worried about you. This isn't like you.
You're sweet to worry. But I can take care of myself.
Edsolar de Diaz. What's the holdup?
Don't answer that. You and I can work this out. Please.
You are seriously out of line, Miranda. First you tried to run, now this?
I'm not going to stand here and debate you.
Edsolar de Diaz. Are you okay? So I see you found each other.
You were taking so long, the commander sent us to see what the problem was. Diaz, you were sent here with specific orders, and fighting your crewmate wasn't one of them. What the hell is going on here?
Let's just let them explain.
I'd like to hear that, because I know what it looks like.
She attacked me.
That's ridiculous.
And tried to get away with this. She was copying data onto it. I must have interrupted her when I came in.
This drive is unauthorized.
There are ISOs all over the floor.
And that's why I was in here, investigating this situation. And when Carter came looking for me, we got our wires crossed. It wasn't anything more than that.
Check the data on this drive. I'm sure it'll show her access codes were used. And there were probably files copied while I was still with you two in engineering.
That makes sense.
Then get someone down here who can prove that. But until then, I have to go.
I don't know what's going on here, but I think we need to call it into security. She can explain herself in the brig.
Hold on a minute. We don't need to put this on anyone's permanent record. Miranda, maybe you're feeling out of sorts and we should head to sickbay so the doc can check you out?
Yeah, I haven't felt right since I came back from Hotari. I think I should see the doctor.
You two know her? If you really think she's not well, we can take her to sickbay first. But what I know is this is a security breach, and we should treat it as such.
Please, just let me go see the doctor.
She did have a bumpy ride back on the shuttle.
And I'm not
Come
a
on,
narc.
Carter. We should get her taken care of.
Let's take her to sickbay. It's better than the brig, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Fine. Get checked out by medical. You two go with her. I'll put this back together.
Alright, let's wait for that episode title to pop up, because that will be the end of this week. but as you know, I don't know if the game actually saved until the episode title pops up. There you go. All right. Are you ready for the vibe check? So, a little bit of cliffhanger to leave us on. Let's take a look at our work today. Let's start with Jara, because that's who we are going to start with next episode. Let's start with Ensign Calloway, who just almost arrested somebody. This is the same as last time. Calloway is grateful for our sense of humor. Chovak, again, this is relating to the first week with the docking clamps. Same with Dr. Duvall. We haven't seen her. Nothing's changed with Ermot. Westbrook either. Spock, this is a new one. Ambassador Spock admired Jara's deft diplomacy under pressure when she was being questioned by the Hotari Queen. Lieutenant Bedrosian was inspired by Jara's boldness when discussing how to address the Hotari threat during the senior staff meeting. And lastly, Captain Solano couldn't help but be impressed by Jara's intelligent approach to the mission, to Tau, despite the evident risks. As you may have figured out, on the top right, there we go. Yeah, top right of the screen, you'll see the little pop-ups of portraits. So that's the equivalent in this game to the Telltale, this character will remember this. So green means it's much favorable. White is neutral to positive, it seems, and red is definitely bad. We haven't gotten many reds. We did get one. Carter did piss Chovak off in the first week, but this time, because we were working on Spock's shuttle. Lieutenant Commander Chovak approved of Carter's eagerness to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle. Commander Westbrook enjoyed his conversation with Carter, coming away with the impression that he's smart, pragmatic, and confident in his knowledge of the ship. True. Ambassador Spock, this is actually from last week. He's impressed by our modesty and work ethic. And now the big two. Let's start with Petty Officer Ed Solar. Ed Solar noticed how Carter shared her suspicion when Miranda returned from Hotari. Good. And Petty Officer Miranda Maris took offense when Carter confronted her with suspicion in the isolinear storage array, but she was thankful he seemed concerned for her well-being and sent her to sickbay instead of the brig. Like I said when I made that choice, sending her to the brig is what a narc would do, and this is a no-narc channel. Sorry, narcs. So that is it for this week. We're just about at the 2-hour mark, so thank you for sticking around. The last thing I want to show you is the thing that I mentioned at the beginning. First of all, how easy it is to go to the main menu, because there is no prompt to say, would you like to go to the main menu? You just go. Bad design. And this choices screen. So, this will be something that I think would be easier if I stream, now that I think about it, because you have to like log in to see it. But when we finish the game, we'll take a look at the effects of our choices and all the ways other players have played it differently than us. But in the meantime, thank you for coming, and I will see you all next Tuesday. And if you see me streaming anytime between now and then, drop in and say hi. But for now, bye.